talk about pain. They will talk about loneliness. They will talk about hurt. That's why the only solution is for us to turn to ourselves, to look at ourselves in the mirror and ask, who do we serve? We can serve the world, which is empty and sterile. Or we can serve Christ, who chose a 14-year-old virgin who today would be counseled for an abortion, who chose the womb to enter the world. Christ could have popped out of an oak tree and said, here I am, but he didn't. He humbled himself, entering the most sacred bond in our humanity, the womb of a woman. And that's how Christ came into the world, just as we all came into the world. And now that womb is the most dangerous place in Western civilization. Our goal for 40 Days for Life is to simply bring awareness to the reality that abortions do not go on in government buildings, they do not go on the bench of the Supreme Court. They go on in our neighborhoods.
Campagne Québec Vie fait partie d'un groupe canadien qui s'appelle Campaign Life Coalition qui fait la même chose dans chaque province.
I realized that if the law was changed tomorrow and abortion and birth control were, criminalized, then the government would be overthrown. There's no question about it. However, I think all of us feel that what we're doing is necessary.
We have to realize that this is a modern-day Holocaust, and the only way by doing that is to go to the places physically and to be outside, to peacefully pray, to witness, to show women before and after their abortions that there is hope beyond their circumstances. Our politics, our economic system, they rise up and they fall down. But our prayer life, our universal prayer for all of man, born and unborn, is universal. That's why this campaign can go anywhere, because where there is an injustice, a prayer can heal that injustice.
I think the thing is, from the perspective of evangelical Christians, it's really been in the last 30 years that abortion has come to mark something important for them that they feel the need to respond to. And I think a lot of people who aren't operating from within an evangelical worldview, it's hard to understand really their fervor, but we have to understand it because these groups and these Christians, they're very well organized. They have a great deal of money and a great deal of political influence all over the world.
Life.
Human being starts at conception, when an unrepeatable human life comes into existence, one that never existed before that moment of conception and one that will never be repeated after that moment. It has its own unique DNA, its own beating heart by 24 weeks, active brain waves by 24 days, and it's amazing to see how we have taken science and pushed it to the side in order to justify abortion.
Well, my stand on abortion is consistent with my stand on the humanity of the embryo and the fetus, which is that it's a person. So as a person, it has the right to life just like you and I do, and that right cannot be violated, even if it's difficult or inconvenient or even mildly dangerous to the mother. So most of the people who are in favor of abortion either deny the humanity of the fetus, or they say they're not sure.
The way in which Mary's womb has been interpreted in the tradition is she has a womb, she has a body unlike any other woman's body in all of history. She was not only a virgin when she conceived, according to official Catholic doctrine, she was a virgin when she bore him. That is, her hymen never ruptured. She was never broken or penetrated. And she was conceived fully without sin. So through most of Christian history, a woman's womb was seen as incredibly dirty, and it was sort of a problem for many Christian thinkers to think of God in that gunk and muck and mire. So the question is, well, what kind of womb would be suitable then for God? It had to be a perfectly beautiful, sinless womb, hence Mary's womb. So this notion then that because Jesus was born in a womb, it means this sort of celebration of women's bodies, that's erroneous, because historically, Mary's elevation actually served to denigrate actual women's wombs and actual children born from those wombs who were so clearly not on the level of Mary.
C'est formé expressément pour riposter à Campagne Québec Vie qui organisait des vigiles face à la clinique Morgan Taylor. C'est vraiment une riposte, d'où notre nom d'ailleurs.
C'est ça, les vigiles, eux, ils avaient un carême de 40 jours. Donc, tous les jours, ils allaient prier devant la clinique Morgan Taylor. Indirectement, ça fait des pressions au niveau des femmes qui veulent avoir des soins en termes d'interruption volontaire de grossesse. Donc, on s'est dit que nous autres aussi, on allait les voir et les rencontrer. Et puis, c'est tellement basé sur Dieu, même qu'ils ont tellement des contradictions, mais pas possibles.
People who don't have religious beliefs or whose religious beliefs are different from theirs, they just can't relate to it, and so they say, this is a religious issue, and so there's no use discussing with you because you think that and I think this, and we have nothing in common.
I think especially in the States, so much of the attention goes to the conservative movement as a whole, linking, opposition to gay marriage and opposition to abortion. So that link is so ingrained in the politics of it that's probably a lot where the link comes from as well.
My guess is just that it's a question of the media. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I am aware that a lot of media coverage of pro-life events, even though that's relatively rare, is given to Christian groups. Perhaps because they're more common, maybe they just get more attention because of other reasons, I'm not really sure. But
on an intuitive level, a level of curiosity, I wonder whether or not abortion and other moral issues, ethical issues, aren't religious in their core.
Every civilization is judged on how they treat the most innocent and how they treat the most vulnerable, and abortion is the worst thing we've seen in the history of man.
We really are at war from the perspective of many of these anti-abortion activists. We're really at war for the soul of the world. The world is dark, it's ruled by Satan, but there are these beacons of light. The Christian family is one. And abortion and homosexuality are seen as disruptions of the family structure. And they are signs that Satan might be winning.
C'est comme une mini-guerre, une guerre en miniature. On tue les embryons, on tue les enfants à naître pour résoudre des problèmes.
Les antichats, je trouve juste ça triste de se voir dominer comme ça par la religion et une religion patriarcale où l'homme domine.
Anti-abortion laws has largely been spearheaded by men, many of them religious. That's changing. There are lots and lots of women, Concerned Women for America, for example, is strongly, and these are all mothers, they see feminism as rejecting this maternal role that they find so much value in.
We have seen 1,128 moms choose life, confirmed saves. They were going in the clinic and then came and spoke with the 40 Days for Life volunteers and chose life.
Donc pourquoi est-ce que des hommes viendraient nous dire, nous, qu'est-ce qu'on fait avec notre corps? C'est pas eux qui vont se lever la nuit pour donner le sein aux enfants, là. C'est pas eux qui vont passer leur temps à torcher, ou c'est pas eux qui vont être là nécessairement pour faire les devoirs. Hein, encore aujourd'hui, la séparation des tâches dans l'éducation des enfants, c'est surtout les femmes qui travaillent le plus, malheureusement. Le jour où les hommes auront autant d'investissements que les femmes dans une grossesse, ce qui est pas mal impossible, peut-être que je commencerai à vouloir entendre votre point de vue. Mais d'ici là, laissez-moi ce que je veux faire avec mon corps.
We're not there to judge them. We're not there to say you had an abortion, you're going to burn in hell. We are there to be a witness of the love of Christ and also His infinite mercy afterwards. That's why we have so many women who have had abortions who are not only participating in 40 Days for Life campaigns, but are leading 40 Days for Life campaigns. Abortion survives because of moral relativism, and we feel that we can do whatever we want, whenever we want. But when we kill an unborn child, that's an injustice. And in the history of man, we have stood up against injustices, and it has always been religion which has led that, an absolute moral authority that we cannot do certain things and we cannot commit injustices. And so religion is leading this because religion is the only thing around that still says something matters and we serve something higher than ourselves. You do this for nothing more than you love our Lord. You love our Lord more than you love yourself, and that's why you're willing to do something in snow, in rain, when it is popular and unpopular. Who knows what some of the people have said while they're driving by? And who cares what they say?
We're done. We're almost done. Day 39 today, day 40 tomorrow. So let's give ourselves a good hand.
Le corps, c'est pas un objet qui doit être utilisé par d'autres. La femme, en devenant mère, perd son statut de femme libre autonome et devient la plupart du temps une femme qui doit s'occuper de quelqu'un d'autre, c'est-à-dire de l'enfant. Et puis en même temps, il y a tous les rôles sociaux d'être mère. Et puis ce n'est pas une obligation pour d'être femme de devenir mère, c'est un choix.
Once we go after that which is untouchable, that which is so beautiful, that which is so innocent, and call it a mere choice, we have crossed the line where there is no human dignity left. And so I think that we have to be passionate about this because this destroys human life and it's real.
Le public en général, quand il voit par exemple une jeune femme de 30 ans qui est en couple, que sa vie va bien, les deux travaillent, les gens ont de la difficulté à comprendre pourquoi il y a l'avortement qui rentre là, tu sais. Mais moi, je pense quand même que, tu sais, chez les jeunes femmes, en tout cas, c'est quand même assez sensibilisé, là. Je pense qu'il n'y en a pas beaucoup qui vont remettre tant que ça le droit à l'avortement.
The alternatives are adoption, and I know in the U.S. it's a 2 to 10 year waiting list to adopt domestically, which is one of the reasons why people are going internationally to adopt.
You know, to be perfectly honest, I don't think that contraception is a solution to abortion. The reason I don't think that is because it perpetuates the mentality that children are not good.
I personally don't believe in birth control. So if I was talking to somebody one-on-one, I would talk about abstinence or about natural family planning, which tracks cervical mucus and basal body temperature to determine fertile periods as another option.
The morning after pill, to me, is equivalent to abortion because what you're doing is the child's already conceived, you're preventing it from being implanted and carrying on.
Moi, je veux vivre dans une société où les gens veulent leurs enfants.
There are very strong lobbies trying to make abortion universally accessible, seen as a women's right, and obviously the doctor is the necessary intermediary to make that happen. There are many doctors who don't want to do it even if they don't have any moral objections, they just find it distasteful. And the whole conscience issue, I think they see the doctors saying, I want to protect myself and I don't care what happens to my patient. The doctors who object to abortion see it as, I want to protect this woman from harming herself, harming her child.
Tout ce que moi j'aimerais dire, c'est que le progrès, le vrai progrès dans l'humanité, ça a toujours été une inclusion de plus en plus grande de tous les humains. Ça a commencé avec les esclaves, les Noirs, ensuite la femme. En d'autres mots, l'embryon à date, c'était comme tous les autres humains qui n'ont pas été identifiés comme tels l'embryon, on le tuait pour résoudre des problèmes, comme on pouvait tuer des nègres ou tuer des esclaves pour faciliter la tâche. Puis maintenant, on dit que pour progresser, il faut reconnaître leur humanité, comme on a fait pour ces autres gens-là.
There is no peace. That's why we have abortion. We go there to bring the Prince of Peace to those sidewalks, to get out of his way and allow him to work miracles. Because women walk into the clinic thinking that no one cares, that no one loves them, and that they have no choice. And if we are not there praying, we confirm that feeling.
So that's why the war for the soul of the world, for many of these anti-abortionists will tell you, is waged in the woman's womb. It's a sign, it's a theological sign that has to be resisted. So it's very hard from within that worldview, if one totally understands the world in those terms, to appeal to things like the welfare of the woman, the dangers of carrying through a pregnancy that's difficult. All of those things are seen as sort of arguments from the world. We're at war. You don't understand. God is judging us. God is watching everything that we do.
There are babies dying every single day, and if this can go on in the most prosperous, sophisticated so-called society in the history of man, then it will see the end of man.
First and foremost, we need a recognition of children's rights, and once we have that, I think we can much easier come to at least an understanding of the other's positions. I think much pro-choice thought, and certainly not all, rests outright on the fact that the child doesn't have any rights, shouldn't have any rights. There's this argument that bodily self-determination is a right that we all have. So if we recognize that and say, yes, a woman does have a right to bodily self-determination, the right to do what she wants within her body, we need to give that right, or why should we deny that right to the fetus as well? Obviously, we can't talk to a fetus, we don't know what it wants, but I think we can reasonably conclude death is not in its best interest. So we need a recognition of child's rights first, and then we need to look at, are we giving them equal rights, equal consideration? And I personally believe that when we do that, we will always find that the right to life pretty much always takes precedence over the woman's right to liberty. If we don't have life, we can't have liberty, we can't have anything else.
When abortion ends, and it will end in your country and it will end in my country, we will correct this error. We are not going to look at brilliant attorneys. We are not going to look at wonderful politicians. We are not going to look at presidents. We are going to look at rooms like this, at gatherings like this, at people who put Christ ahead of themselves and said, I want to do this and I must do this because I feel our Lord Jesus would have done nothing less for me. God bless you.
The people on the right do use the rights debate, but they talk about the right of the fetus, so they turn the logic of...
This is nothing special. This is nothing sophisticated. It started in Texas, for crying out loud.
Ah ben, je vais pas me protéger, au pire, je vais avoir...
L'alternative, ce serait une approche plus saine à la sexualité.
It's sort of a fantasy that you can turn the clock back.
On what basis are they equal or not equal? And if we can establish that this
this
should radically change.
That's where there are two perceptions of culture that are, you know, that clash.